Hello, I'm Stuart Youngs. I'm Executive Creative Director at Purpose.
And I'm Rob Howsam. I'm also Executive Creative Director of Purpose. 13 years ago.
Oh gosh.
Actually, in 2003, I was at the Partners, working with the lovely Greg Quinton, and I met a chap called Giles Redmayne who ran a production-based company called Reef, who were in the basement here. We took a good year and a half to sort of get to know each other and recognise that we had lots of shared ambitions and values and so forth. And Reef invested, both Giles and Terry as partner invested in setting up a company upstairs, and we kind of incubated Purpose. So it started out with me and a placement on a daily basis, all this space. Giles said, don't worry, you'll grow into it. And off we went. So we were quite fortunate that we had financial backing initially, quite rare, I think, in the industry. It then meant we were able to recruit great people. Ollie Maltby was one of our first guys, Charlotte Klein, and built up a great team. And what year was it that you joined?
I joined about 3 years later and went through a similar process to what you and Giles went through, really, where Rob and I spent about, I think it was 9 months from our first conversation to me actually joining.
Got to be sure.
Yeah, got to be sure, you know. You don't want to just jump into these things. I don't know that there was one that we actually went out and said, right, we're going to go and do that. But there was definitely sort of sectors that we seemed to sort of feel very comfortable in and seemed to do quite well in. And certainly we had Orange, so telecoms was a big one. And I was sort of leading in charge on education as well. And one of our first clients was City and Guilds. And it was amazing because there was an amazing client. They gave us an awful lot of free rein, which at the time was super. But of course then as that business grew and evolved and the challenges there changed, then so did we have to grow and evolve with that. And they've been around for 100 years, but you know, we had such an impact on such a scale of organisation through what we could deliver for them. It was super. And same with Orange, wasn't it?
I mean, it's something we review quite a lot, actually, because it would certainly appear that it would be easier to market yourself as a business if you had a particular, very focused specialism. We've got colleagues who work in, say, the yacht industry and things like that. I think we find, actually, that a lot of our skills are so applicable regardless of the sector. We often find that we can bring learnings from other sectors and other disciplines. At the end of the day, we're involved in communication. We help different businesses to really connect with people, and that's the core skill. We
do often get employed though because we haven't worked in a sector. I'm sure other agencies are the same, but you often go in, we don't want the sort of same old, we've got a client at the moment which just doesn't want to go down the sort of typical road of things, and so you get employed as this outsider, and then all of a sudden you become something you're really passionate about, and you become almost one of the niches that you can develop. But
Take that.
Okay, so C is very much about immersion, right? Let's really understand this organisation. Let's really understand what its ambitions are, what the marketplace looks like, what are the internal perceptions, what are the external perceptions, and as I say, we've got a whole raft of ways of doing that. And digital age is really transforming the depth that you can go to for this. So it's, this actually is becoming a great emphasis of our work. And it was interesting. I was with a client the other day, and they said actually we'd much rather pay for that sort of in that area and the think area than we would in the design area. So there's much more budget and consideration being attributed to this area. So C is really about understanding. Think is obviously then how you take all of that understanding and make it and articulate that into something that's going to charge a difference, that becomes a brief to everybody internally. It becomes a strategy for that organisation. And then you can start to build a plan. So then you've got to see the thing, and then the create, as I say, with the think, you've got your brief for, right, now we know what challenge we're addressing, what problem we're trying to solve, and start the articulation of how we can begin to solve that problem creatively. Then it moves into the create stage, which of course is bringing that to life, and then into the delivery.
It's a basic design process, really. I mean, it's how you tackle most problem-solving situations. I think the graphic equalizer phrase, there's lots of things that become commonplace when we're talking about what we do. The graphic equalizer probably started life about when we were looking at how we bring lots of elements to bear to create a brand language, and how there's certain constants and flexibles and certain things can adjust depending on situations. So just like a human being, we don't speak the same way in every single situation or to every person we meet. That was probably where the graphic equalizer was coming from, how you remix all the elements that form a brand experience or a brand identity to suit situations. When one is involved in shaping brands, it's such a collaborative process. There are so many different people that you can draw upon and might have to draw upon at different stages that you can bring to bear for that particular client to help them tackle those issues. There might be internal behavioural change that needs to be brought about. There might be external perceptions that need to be influenced. And what we've tried to do over the years is to back up this idea of design with substance is, well, who have we got around us that we can draw upon? Mates, collaborators that can really help us make an impact for our clients. So we've met some interesting and very, very intelligent and interesting people through different clients and through different relationships, and we just try and build up that arsenal of great people to draw upon.
But it's amazing how you can draw on them in certain situations. So we work with a behavioural change specialist, ex-government guy, and an organisation came to us quite recently where they were a merger. They'd merged a big company, and they wanted to align behaviours between these two companies. And that's not typically a sort of problem that an agency like ours would get. And of course now that's the sort of space we're in, and so you need this pool of people who are real experts in particular fields to be able to draw on to enable you to deliver that. And of course the outcome is something which is an internal comms project, so then there's a role for us, but it's really important we have those people around us to draw on that. And it does actually, importantly, creates a point of difference for us, because there's not many agencies, I don't believe, who are really embracing that. And I do think it's the future, as sort of big data and machine learning start to come into the fold. Having an ability to understand how to interpret that is going to be of huge value. I do think an understanding of how to look at data, how to interpret data, and how that can become meaningful, I think is really important. In the same way that we go back to sort of how this agency was born, from this idea of design with substance. Now we've got so much more substance than we had back then, and I think to get a job here you would have to start to go, well, what are the things I can draw on in order to get that substance to make my idea of greater value than somebody else's, and greater effect than somebody else's. So I do think looking at different ways of getting to that super idea would be very, very interesting to see.
I think it's really important to as well just kind of the clues in the name. We're called purpose. Why is that? Well, I think that came about because we all really believe in the power of creative thinking, the fundamental power of great ideas, innovation. That's quite a way beyond just the craft. And what we're keen to see is how we can channel that creative thinking, that problem solving, that design to help make a real difference and an impact. So purpose is all about how we channel great creative thinking. Now I think that really starts to then give you quite a practical grounding, doesn't it? We're problem solvers. We're closer to engineers than artists. I mean, designers are problem solvers fundamentally, but we're less interested in being the crazy creative guys, and we're much more interested in problem solving in a creative way.
Yeah, I agree.
That's me.
I couldn't articulate that any better, so I'll try.